Ranking the top 5 best and worst movies of 2025 so far. The fifth worst movie of the year so far has to be The Monkey from Osgood Perkins. This is a horror comedy about, yes, a symbol monkey that goes around killing people, so it's just as stupid as it sounds. Obviously, the movie isn't taking itself too seriously, but I'm sorry, it's not really funny, and the kills aren't even like big or bold enough to actually make this movie anything worthwhile to really watch. Fifth best of the year is Companion. It's a movie about Iris here in this poster above me and all her friends going to this billionaire's lake house, and when he suddenly dies, all things start falling apart. I'm gonna kind of spoil the premise of the movie because they try to hide it originally, but it's all over the trailers, and you can even tell from this poster. She is a companion, which is an AI robot, and Sophie Thatcher is so great in this role. The moment of realization when she realizes, hey, I'm a robot, is so cool. And like I said, sounds like a spoiler, but it's like the first 15 minutes of the movie. The entire premise is that. Fourth worst of the year is another horror movie, Wolfman. Don't be fooled by this cool poster. This movie is an absolute snooze fest. It tries to do like a different take on a monster movie, but it ends up just becoming so boring to watch. Because this movie might as well just be called A Family in the Woods for an hour and a half, because pretty much nothing happens in this movie. The Wolfman does not appear until way too late in the film. The transformation itself visually is kind of cool, but he's just so lackluster himself. Fourth best of the year is Dogman. I was actually pretty unfamiliar with this character. I had read the Captain Underpants books as a kid, but Dogman I just never really got into, but this movie was simply just an absolute blast. A lot of the humor in this movie was really witty and a lot more creative than I was expecting it to be, especially like the first 30 minutes of this film. It's just all gas, no breaks, and I was absolutely having a blast with it. You can tell I feel like they kind of ran out of story to tell a little bit in the middle. Ultimately, this movie just captures the chaotic energy that it was trying to achieve so perfectly. Pete Davidson as Petey the cat was an absolute blast, great voice acting from him, and the animation overall looks incredible. The third worst of the year, it hurts me to say it, but it's Love Hurts starring Kihei Kwan. I absolutely love him, and he's fine in this movie. He plays kind of this like well-mannered real estate agent that's suddenly called into his past of being a professional killer. But I'm sorry, everything outside of Kihei Kwan and his performance in this movie is pretty much terrible. It feels like a Hallmark version of the John Wick movies, just trying to do like the similar formula with a new story, and it does not work at all. This film's only like an hour and 20 minutes, and even that felt like stretching for the story being told. Third best of the year is Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. I mean, these two have never missed, and this movie is simply, again, just so much fun. It follows Wallace, who invents this gnome that's way too smart for his own good and ends up becoming evil. Now, this technically released, I think, like last year in some film festivals and stuff like that, but its Netflix release date was 2025, so that's why I'm including it here in the video. By the way, before I get to the next top 2 for each category, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Second worst of the year is Back in Action, a Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, and it's kind of like every single Netflix action movie released over the last like 5 years. Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz play these two CIA agents who kind of disappear and try to leave that life behind them, go undercover and start a family, but suddenly, oh no, their cover's blown and they're called back into action. It's trying so hard to force like modern humor in this movie, like we're making Karen jokes and stuff like that, and I'm sorry, that just does not work in movies in my opinion. This movie's unbelievably generic. Second best of the year is Paddington in Peru. This movie follows Paddington traveling to Peru to visit his Aunt Lucy, and suddenly she goes missing. Now, this is easily worse than the first 2 Paddington movies, but still a lot of the charm from those first 2 films carries over to this. I think a big reason this movie feels a little bit worse is because we don't have Paul King directing this one, but Dougal Wilson, this is like one of his first movies ever. He did a pretty good job kind of doing the same style as Paul King while making his own. Antonio Banderas is new to the cast in this movie, and he's from this family that's like cursed with being gold hungry and absolutely losing their mind. I compared him to like the Green Goblin in this movie. He's having so much fun in every scene. Ultimately, it's just as wholesome as every other Paddington movie, and will put a big smile on your face by the end of it. The worst of the year has to be Flight Risk with Mark Wahlberg. I have no idea what he's doing with his career so far, but he is absolutely throwing it away with some just terrible movies. Pretty much the entire movie takes place on this plane of being like, oh, we need to move this person, but oh, who's evil and who's turning on who, and it is just unbelievably dull to sit through and some of the worst dialogue you'll ever hear. Plus, it opens up with the most obviously AI generated like motel in the snow that you've ever seen, so that's bonus points off. The best in a pretty weak year is Mickey 17 from Bong Joon-ho that just came out. This movie is very solid overall, one of his weaker films though. Robert Pattinson wants to get off of Earth, and one of the easiest ways to do that is by getting a job being an expendable, which means you're pretty much ordered to die over and over again to test different ways of things and how they kill you. After dying over and over again and being on his 17th version of himself, something goes wrong and an 18th version of himself is printed while the 17th one is still alive, so it deals with these duplicates too. I think the first hour spends way too much time explaining like the rules of this world, how the expendables and duplicates and everything work, and it gets really bogged down, feeling super exposition heavy. Once we get to the second half and it's allowed to just be like a dark political satire, then it really works. Tap the video at the top of the screen to see me rank every movie that's won the Best Picture Oscar this decade, or check out the playlist on the bottom to see all my box office predictions for the biggest movies. Thank you so much for watching.